Hey guys, this is Class Wars Finals for December 2015. I'm just getting into things with a Venus and no kid this time around, that's why my BR is so low. And so my basic approach was to go for timer wins and to basically protect against Ray and Chili Mac, and then once I saw them, switch over some of my wind resistance over to Fire and Electro. Unfortunately, that sort of blew up in my face because I faced all of the Fire and Electro people, so all the people with Thor or Tyr in like the first 5 fights. So that didn't work out very well. At the same time, I was sort of looking at my prelim video. It was nice to have so many fights with Ray so I could get a feel for what I could get away with. I did feel like I could live the whole fight with her right now, whereas previously she's been killing me, and that's very difficult, just to even deal with the survivability and everything. I was using fire, so I didn't have as much HP. Now I have a light sylph this time, and I was using dark before, and those are very similar in BR, actually almost identical in BR. And I switched over my good set of red gear to this Venus this time around, so I was feeling pretty good about living, and so I dropped the kid to help me win on the timer. The problem about a light sylph, and I think dark is a little bit better about this in general, but in the case of Class Wars maybe not, is that light just does not pack a very good punch. So there, Zolfia is probably somebody with fire or with dark and not Class Wars resistances that I would probably kill much sooner than what you saw there. And so same with, well, even with Lala lately, because she's not as strong as she used to be, but here she is. She has Thor, and I am just very, very weak against that resistance. She's trying to keep the kid alive, which I thought was to my advantage. Had things ended up going to timer, probably would be, actually. I don't like the idea of healing the kids. I don't think it's terrible to have a kid there. I think you can still have timer wins with them there, but by all means, I wouldn't heal them. So something, one of her basic attacks, or maybe it was even just an auto attack, hit the troop. So she is able to clear the troops surprisingly well with that Thor, which I was a bit surprised by. I think one of the Delphics hits the one in the back. So I get her troops. It's not too hard to clear the troops with most people when I have Venus on. But there, just the player priority gets me, and yeah, so I just take a really nasty loss. Lala didn't have a great performance this evening, and I think she was losing quite a bit to people. I think Shay told me he used dark and had a pretty easy time with her, and so I'm a little bit surprised that it went the way that it did. But what can you do? She was hitting really, really hard with that pet, and so it was a risk that I took intentionally, right? So I basically had to bank on the fact that I wanted to beat Chili and Ray, and in order to do that, I wanted to protect more against wind, light, and dark, and that meant sacrificing some resistance against fire and electro. Unfortunately, the first 3 people that I fought had fire and electro pets, so what can you do? Here up against Asher, who really has relatively competitive stats with me. I think he's ahead of me in BR a bit because of the sylphs, like everybody is, but overall stats I might have a small advantage. So there he gets the stun on me, which is always a little bit worrisome, just in case I can't sylph because of the steals, but eventually you can get back into sylph mode. Unless they have 3 Medusas or 3 Goddess of Prosperity, Wind, Water, Freya, Frigga, yada yada combinations, they can't keep you out the whole time. I think even with 3, somehow you can manage if you can survive the whole time to get back in. So it's not totally impossible. It's just not a great chance. I think part of the problem, I forget if this goes to timer. These Thors do a ton of damage. I still don't think they're that great for Class Wars. You know, even here, I still felt like I had the advantage. I felt good because my kid wasn't around, and that I did get some decent damage on his kid, and all that. But here, he's going to be getting into Sylph mode much sooner. So I do have to heal, knowing that he's going to get some Thor hits off. And obviously, I learned from that fight with Lala that I am very weak to this Sylph. So I get the Guardian on. Just try to deal a little damage. There's the big Delphic coming. So he gets one of them, but I don't think it crit. Might have even been a block, but I think just a no crit. And so there I lose on timer. So I was a little bit surprised. Honestly, I thought that was going to go my direction, but you know, what can you do? And so here's Solara. This was a big surprise for me because these Sylphs are just crazy. I didn't think anybody was actually going to do this, and I'll leave it to Solara to actually do the setup, which is 3 wind and water Sylphs. So I knew he had 2 Friggas. I think he's had those 2 Friggas for a while. But he also made another Freya. So he has 2 wind and water troops and a wind and water Sylph. So I think it's a little bit overkill. Just a little bit. Everybody just needs to, you know, let me catch up and make 1 merge Sylph before they have, you know, 5, which I think is what Solara's up to at this point. He's such a sweetie that I can't be like, stop it. You know, I think being able to clear the troops okay here. It's not super easy, but it's, you know, not trivial either. The one really good thing that was noticeable with Venus was the fact that I could get a lot of AoE power out. So you have those snowflake shields, and then they heal themselves. Actually, no, I think Solara healed the troops. Which may not be in his favor here, because healing the troops means that I get to deal more damage to the troops, which is not good for a timer win. And I don't think he should realistically think that I'm going to die here. You know, when he has Frigga on, there's just not enough oomph. It's not the same as fighting a Tyr or a Thor. You really just don't deal that much damage. I do manage to get back into Sylph mode, which I was a little bit surprised, considering the company he's keeping at the moment. But I can't really do much once I'm in Sylph mode because of the stun. That said, I still won on the timer, so, you know. I don't see how that fight was that exceptionally different than the one with Asher. You know, people were talking to me about the difference between my fights, my winning fight versus my losing fights against Ray in prelims, and so to me it was pretty obvious that the one that I won, her kid was still alive for quite a while throughout Sylph mode, and so I was able to deal a lot of damage to the kid as well as the troops, whereas the other ones, the kid died very early. But in those fights, I'm not totally sure, you know, where the difference in the fights were, you know, why I won one and why I lost one. It might have been that Asher's Delphic to my Sylph troops was just huge. It could have been, you know, millions upon millions of damage, and so that's just not something I could recover from. So I'm not totally sure. You guys should check it out and tell me what you observe. You know, when I'm looking back at all this footage, I only have so much time to go through and figure out what's happening, but having many pairs of eyes try and figure all this stuff out is very helpful to me. So here I have Groot. Yeah, I don't think he's been in Warlords much. I feel like I haven't fought. I don't know. I wasn't overthinking it last night, I think he's a relatively new addition to Warlords Hall, at least. But yeah, this Venus. You know, it's only magical attack, and so it's very difficult to really pack a punch. Pretty much sacrificing damage to the player in order to deal damage to the troops which I think conceptually is actually not a bad idea if I'm going for timer wins. It just means that it takes so much longer to beat people that I would usually just kill very quickly. You know, usually what you'll see in Clash vs. Final, which is why I ended up speeding up this video a little, is that my fights were going so long because of this Venus. So I was ending up either taking a really long time to kill or going to timer with people that I would otherwise usually beat relatively quickly. And so there was some anxiety with that because it was just sort of nerve-wracking having to constantly be on my toes about, whether or not I'm dealing enough damage and everything. And so that's a sacrifice that I made in order to try and get timer wins against Ray and Chili. But, yeah, so it's just a little bit nerve-wracking. One good part is clearing out the troops with all these AoEs. So all these are either, well, that skill on 5, the 5-second cooldown skill is 1 to 2 targets. The one on my second hotkey is an all-player AoE, and then the ones on 1 and 3 are 2 to 4 players, and the Delphic is also all-player. Actually, I might be lying about that skill on 2. I forget if that's an all-player AoE. I think it is. So here you get a nice stun on ores. Not quite enough to seal the deal. That was a tiny heal on his part. It's not like I had any heal reduction on him. It's not like I have a dark bet or something. That seems very, very odd. Maybe that's just what a non-crit heal looks like, but I feel like most people feel like the crit heal rate is actually pretty good. Maybe his attack to HP ratio is just very off. Here's Ariel. She has Frigga as her main. A lot of people, I think, trying to work Frigga in as their main sylph because Frigga has the water elemental aspect, and pretty much nobody's protecting against water. There are very few people with water dimensions at the moment, including myself. I think I have 1 water crystal in, and that's it. No dimensions or anything like that. So here's what I should be doing, which I sort of caught on. I did a little bit of gameplay. I dueled Robin beforehand to sort of get used to playing a Venus because I don't PvP with this elf much. So I'm not super used to like getting a good rotation with it and everything. So it did take a little bit of getting used to. If I sylph first, I should really be using that low cooldown skill because it's the least likely to hit as an AoE, and so I should save the bigger AoEs for when my opponent is in sylph mode so that I can kill off the troops and everything. That said, with Venus, it's less nerve-wracking to deal with that because everything's an AoE, whereas with the Dark Sylph, you really have to be much more careful because you only have 2 AoEs to work with, and if you don't use them wisely, you could very well not kill the troops. Ariel's resistances, just not quite enough. She is up there in BR, it's not like she's not still competitive, but I don't know. Definitely not quite as strong relative to other players as she used to be. Here's Vader. So there really is like a new generation of Warlords Hall players lately. I think Vader would be considered one of them. But it is nice to see some new faces. It does make me a little bit worried though sometimes, just because it feels like either people from the top are either making their way down, or are quitting, or are the main part was being moved over to a different crossover section really, and so that gave some opportunity for some other players to really make their way up. So we have an Odin as the main, and then a Frigga and Goddess of Prosperity as the troops. So I think this is for somebody who's made either one of each kid, one of each merged sylph, is a pretty good setup to go with. Odin is a great all around Sylph, very very sturdy. So it's very hard to kill somebody with an Odin, and then that Frigga troop is just too fantastic. If you don't want to spend another 60,000 Balins plus material costs to make a second Frigga, a Goddess of Prosperity is the better choice than going with Frigga and Poseidon or Frigga and any other Sylph. And here Vader is actually using Blessed Light, brought Blessed Light, which is probably not something I have brought to Class Wars in a really long time. I mean, it's probably been well over a year since I brought a Blessed Light to Class Wars. Maybe even 2 years. Man, I have been playing this game a long time. when all the Class Wars are just starting to blur together. But yeah, so it's definitely a skill you bring along if you're worried about survivability. Or if you're worried about wanting your kid to be alive, which for me, I definitely don't want the kid alive too long, or I just don't bring it. So that's not a heal you're going to really see me use. My favorite heal is really Centauria most of the time, but you really need that Restore. Restore is still more important in some ways because Restore can just recover you, a ton of HP, especially if it is a late game crit heal. Sometimes you just need it. There's no getting around it. And so yeah, having that Restore is critical. In BG and stuff, sometimes I bring Panda, even though lately I've been bringing my Wind Ranger a lot. I still do like to use the Battle Oracle, and Panda has Centauria, and it's actually better than the Centauria that I have. Fewer turns, but a better percentage each time. And so, well, actually, yeah, because I have more turns from the QTE on my Centauria. I'm not, maybe the real Mage one is better. But yeah, I mean, even though I really like the Wind Ranger, and it's such a noticeable difference with PvE stuff, like Dragon Invasion and World Boss, and anything where I need to hit something hard and increase my DPS, I'm not sure I've ever had a fight where I brought Wind Ranger and felt like I won the fight because I brought Wind Ranger instead of bringing the Battle Oracle. So from a PvP point of view, I don't think it's bad for people to just stick it out with Battle Oracle or whatever kit they have, really, but I think Battle Oracles are very nice. So definitely for players getting into things for the first time or building up a new tune, you only get to choose between the three really basic kids, and I for sure would, if I could do everything over again, I would have picked the Battle Oracle first. So here's DHR. DHR is really high in the BR rankings. I'll show that in the tune overview. But I think he might be the highest BR mage in the rankings. Maybe, anybody else higher? Maybe Chili's up there. But I was very surprised because stat-wise he doesn't seem as competitive as, say, like Chili or Ray, or maybe, well, he might be on par with Lala at this point. But it is a little bit surprising. I don't think Sylph BR, I mean, Chili and some of the other mages have lots of really big Sylphs also, so it doesn't seem like Sylph BR should be the reason. Solara is definitely up there, and he has a ton of Sylph BR too. And here's Miss Ray. And Ray has really stuck it out with that Archer kit. The just basic Archer kit, and it actually serves her quite well. I think she likes that incendiary shot or something, or just really doesn't want to build another kit, which I wouldn't blame her too much. Here I get stunned, and this was just awful. Really just the worst person to get stunned by, and I got it, and so with the two Friggas and then she has Goddess Prosperity, it's really hard to recover. It's going to take me a bit to get into Sylph mode. My stun doesn't even work. I couldn't even stun like the kid or one of the Sylph troops, just nothing. Here, I can grab a heal. We're off to the races. I thought I might be able to slip in the, it's a little bit frustrating because you can't see which skill that the Sylph troops are about to use. If you could predict that, it would be so much easier to figure out when I'm supposed to use that Delphic. Because I used the Delphic thinking that that the group shield wasn't going to be on, and that I could kill the troops or at least damage them a lot, and I didn't get it in on time. So there was one fight in prelims where I completely cleared her troops, or maybe there were 2 fights? I forget, but at least one of them. And so I was feeling sort of good about that, and I thought, you know what, I'm bringing Light, maybe, you know, she won't be as stacked up against Light, and so I can figure out a way with all the AoEs from the Light Sylph to be able to kill those troops. So that doesn't really work out here. If I can't get it in the first try or in the first Sylph round, it's really hard to get back in and manage. So here I'm just trying to survive, and of course she has more damage. Even with the kid there, you know, I just was not dealing much. I wasn't able to stay in Sylph mode very long, and so she wins on the timer. But again, a timer win from her, which, you know, lately, you know, I have had some other timer wins in the past few months against Ray, but she's really just dominated the fights. There, I think she was well in the lead, or it was pretty clear that it was her win. But to have, you know, 4 fights with her the past couple of days, and have them all go to timer, means that I think that resistances must be in place or something, because the past couple of months she's really just been KOing me in Class Wars. And all these people, it's a little bit different once you're talking about going into like a BG fight. I think you put me against Ray in BG, it's pretty much even. It'll depend a little bit on resistances at the time, but just in general, like if all things equal, if you don't have the Sylph troops in the picture, I'm pretty much on par with everybody, except for... Well, I mean, if I stack up my resistances against somebody with a fire and electro pet, I can fare just fine against them, but usually I don't have enough resistances to do that well against Thor in BG. Thor is just really nasty. If you're not protected, it's just god-awful. So yeah, I have some BG footage with Red Beans, who used to be named Queenie Bee, and I'll show some of those, but it was like we had this really long fight where she was using Frigga, and then we had 2 more where I just die so terribly fast to a bunch of her Thor hits. So that fire and electro pet, really, really nasty. But I think pretty tough to play in Class Wars. Clearly, you know, 2 of them got the best of me earlier, so that's not great. And here's Zeke. I think this is her 2nd or 3rd time here in Warlord's Hall. Maybe? Maybe I'm just full of crap right now. I don't know what I was checking my resistances for there. Maybe because I fought Ray, I was trying to take out one of the wind ones, I think, but it's not going to make a huge difference. Here's Mr. Chilimac with his Wind Ranger. She has very nice skills on it. I think pretty high level ones. My Wind Ranger has a lot of level 5 skills now, which I'm pretty happy about. The way that they're doing the Sylph skill books the kid skill books is a lot better now, so it's been easier to upgrade those. But yeah, I do need to be a little bit careful, so I did my Centauria in this fight much earlier than I did in some of the other ones, just to make sure that those bleeds were not going to really impact me too badly. They are pretty nasty, but I do gain quite a bit from Centauria, so it doesn't completely cancel it out, but it does help. There, I just use a heal rune. He's not in Sylph mode yet, so I'm pretty safe from needing a Guardian rune. And he has 2 Friggas, which I didn't know about. Well, I knew about the first Frigga, and I was a little confused at one point in Class Wars where he had the first Frigga that he made, he put it on the kid, and then you could use it as a troop as well, and so I didn't know about that, and so I thought he had 2 Friggas. But now he, for real, has 2 Friggas as his troops, and that's quite tough to deal with. Got the stun. Don't have a lot of, in-class damage because I didn't bring Thunder this time around. Decided to bring Centauria. I might have, well, I don't know. I thought maybe I could get away with with not bringing lightning bolt and bringing thunder. But thunder, if you bring it, you need the rage. So I don't know how I can get rid of... Yeah, how I can keep thunder and then get rid of lightning bolt. I don't think that's gonna work. Just duking it out at the end, but I was pretty confident that I would get the timer win just the way that we were set up, and it wasn't like Ray where she was just overwhelmingly dealing all the damage. That one was a little bit more even, so I grabbed the win from him. And I was talking to Chili, and he ends up winning this. Spoilers! And he wins the whole thing, where he takes a loss to me, but he beats Ray, and so they both have 14 wins, and he takes first by BR. And so the last time that Chili won Class Wars, he also lost only to me. And so we've decided that because it's happened twice, for sure, I must be his lucky charm, and so. Yeah, because he loses to me, I'm sure that's the reason why I was able to beat Ray. That's sarcasm, by the way, but I'd like to think that I contributed to his first place finish. He's not the only one that's happened with, actually. It's happened with Solara's wins as well. I think at least one of them, if not both. I was the only person that ended up beating him. So there is a little bit of magic to how I play Class Wars, and that sometimes it can get me wins that that are not super standard, but I think it sometimes puts me at risk of losing to people I shouldn't lose to, so, you know, high risk play. It's okay. And here's Jay Keith. That seems like a relatively new name to me, or at least somebody I haven't seen a lot of. Oh, but I have a buddy who's also using Venus. Somebody else decided to use Light. The last time I saw a light pet was really just to when Asher went through a period of using light quite a bit. But then once Odin came into the picture, people started protecting against light resistance or light elemental attacks quite a bit. So we haven't been seeing light pets quite as much as we used to. Now, though, the good thing about having all of the merge sylphs in the picture, so you have to protect against so many elements that nobody has, well, okay, I shouldn't say nobody, but most people don't have crazy amounts of resistance to just only one element. You at least have to build up 2 elements for the most part. I know Chili has like 60k wind resistance tonight or something like that just to beat Ray. Which, you know, I've repeatedly told Chili that if he wants to win Class Wars, if you want to win Mage Class Wars at the moment, you have to intend to beat Ray, and in that case, you have to protect against her. So that, of course, helps me because I'm using light. He probably didn't have much in the way of light resistance in that fight. But yeah, it's if you want to try for the win, which I was actually trying for the win. I wasn't doing it quite the way that Chili was, but I'm always trying to win. You do have to take on Ray head on, and so yeah, would I probably place better if I didn't try to beat Ray and didn't protect against wind as much as I do? Probably, but at the same time, you know, if you're not gonna go for the win, doesn't seem like much fun. I mean, I can be happy with other places just because I have no merge sylphs, perpetually at a disadvantage in an assortment of ways. So I can understand that perspective, but I still think that going for first place is the way to go. Not to say that other strategies aren't admirable. And here's thing 1. Been so happy to see Thing in class in Warlord's Hall quite a bit lately. She's really been making her way up. Very strong. Oh, and she has an Odin. I think I knew that, but doesn't always cross my mind. I'm not sure she uses that much in BG. I do see her quite a bit, but I don't know how recent that is. I think she has a Freya as well. Oh, she has a Frigga. I forgot. I didn't look at the troops. And so the last fight is Shay, and I was talking to Shay before, and he's like, I'm betting on you for second. I think you're only going to lose to Ray, and you're going to beat Chili and beat everybody else, but you're only going to lose to Ray. And so maybe I broke his heart. But anyway, So I was saying, you know, you can get back at me for losing your wager, and he's, you know, good-natured about that stuff. But Ray, I mean, Shay, I have lost to in Class Wars before in Warlord's Hall, and I think maybe in one in prelims as well. I'm very much so at a BR advantage, but I think he was able to. One time he actually killed me, and then I think another time he won a timer win on me. So he's a good player, and I have to be careful by all means. And with this Venus, everything seems nerve-wracking to me. You know, I just can't, I can't go any fight feeling like, oh yeah, I just blew through that. Almost none of those, maybe only a couple this time around. So yeah, a lot of footage because the fights just all went so long. It felt like Titan War in that way, where all the fights go really long, because in Titan War, I mean, we hardly have any fights that don't go to timer. At least when I get to play to Titan War, which I do not this month. So here I'm back into Sylph mode much earlier. I was hoping to keep him out of Sylph mode, but because the troops are actually very at risk at the moment, he kills them, and he's able to get back into Sylph mode toward the end. And he says he couldn't kill people's troops much this evening, which is usually just a resistance thing. It's probably because a lot of people have dark resistance, and so your resistances or your sylphs inherit your own resistances. So if you have a lot of resistance to whatever element they have, your troops will as well. So here I look a little bit at risk, but actually doing just fine. Shay was saying that if it didn't go to timer that he would have had me, but I don't think so. So there it is, Chili and Ray tied for 14 wins, but Chili has quite a bit more BR when he's at his best setup. Asher and I tie with 12 wins, which means that he lost to somebody other than Chili and Ray. I'm not sure who. Maybe Solara, maybe... no, I know Shay lost to him. But yeah, that was nice. You know, I didn't put the kit or anything back on because I sort of knew that I was probably going to tie with Asher, and even if I have my highest BR set up, I still lose out to Asher by BR because he has all those merge sylphs and everything. So our winners are Chili Mac in first, so big congratulations to him. Chili was really happy about that because he felt like his first win was sort of lucky against Ray, and so he feels like this is his first real win. And then Cypress winning the Knights and Red Beans winning the Archers. So Cypress has had a really long run, or has had many wins among the Knights. I think he maybe slipped up a little last month, but he's back on top this month. And then Red Beans, that's her first Class Wars win, so big congratulations to her. And here just showing the rankings, and so this is, let me see. Yeah, so Shay ended up 6th, which is about right. I mean, I think he could be a little bit higher, but really he's playing from a disadvantage. I think we're probably... of the bunch, I think we might be the only two without a merge sylph. Does Ors have one? I forgot if Ors has one, but if so, I think we might be the only 3. Ors, did he cave and make the merge sylph? I totally forget. There's somebody I talk to almost on a daily basis, and I don't know if he has a merge sylph. And then as we go down, things are relatively predictable, even though, because Lala was hitting me so hard, I thought something was going on with her, but then she ended up not doing that great in the rest of the fight, so maybe it's just me sucking or something. And so yeah, that's about it. I think it was a pretty good Class Wars. It was fun to play something else. I probably haven't played with a light pet since, it's been a really long time. So not since my really early Class Wars days when there was no dark pets and no electro pets, no fire pets or anything like that. It's been a really long time since I've played a light one. So that was very fun. So maybe we'll see me with at least one merge sylph by next month, hopefully, if this game gives me a nice spender event to do that. And I'll show all of that stuff and where I'm at, you know, as far as my progress with all of that stuff in my Tune overview, which should be coming out very soon. So thanks, you guys. Take care, and have a very good day.